You got a recorder somewhere?
Sean's running.
You ready? Hold on.
Oh,
Hold.
All set?
Not yet.
All right.
Okay, you're recording now.
All right. The time being 5:38 p.m., I'd like to call to order the February 7th, 2023 Tilton and Northfield Fire and EMS Board of Commissioners meeting. Let the record show that all three commissioners are here: Chief Seatar, Deputy Chief Balvenie, Deputy Chief Robinson, and Captain Pilvine, and 4 members of the public. Do I need to identify the 4 people? Tim Sattler, Dennis Manning, Kevin Waldron, and Lisa Martin. Got her. All right. Sorry for our little delay. We had some technical difficulties to start the meeting. First on our agenda is public comment, members of the district or employees of the district. Oh, all right, moving on. Old business, the 2021 Fire Station Building Committee. There are a couple people. You guys are all
All of them are.
All of them are.
Oh, okay. I thought there was someone else.
Well, there's others, but these are, all 4 present are all part of the.
Okay, so the 4 members of the Fire Station Building Committee are present: Tim Sattler, Dennis Manning, Kevin Waldron, and Lisa Martin. And representing the Board of Commissioners is Commissioner Silly, so he's also on there, and Chief Seatar is also on the committee, but as a non-voting member, I believe.
As an advisory.
As an advisory position only.
And I believe Tim is the vice chair of the committee.
All right.
And can we just name off the other people that are on it?
Sure, Dennis Manning.
No, the ones that aren't.
The other ones that
I recognize these.
Okay, all right, I was just confused, sorry.
Yeah, so it would be Matt Ozier, Derek
Farrell, Paul
Blaisdell, and that's it currently.
So we're missing 3, okay.
All right. So the, I don't know how to put it. Do you have the article or the minutes of that?
Yeah.
So the reason why we asked to have the Fire Station Committee here was to hear your comments regarding the December 29th meeting that happened between the, with the building committee, and then some actions that happened outside of that meeting, and it was reported in the press. It was also discussed at the January 4th Board of Commissioners meeting. Is that the right date? Yes. I think so. So, and we also received legal counsel as to what happened at that meeting. So we were looking for input from the committee members on the overall feelings of what happened, and what your feelings were on the actions that happened. So, and I don't know if we should have this in. Yeah, I guess you have the option of having this as a non-public or in public. And we'll
I'm okay with public.
Doesn't really matter to me. Honestly, I thought you guys were getting us together. You guys were going to make a decision about, because quite frankly, I mean, Kevin was there and I was there, and we expressed our viewpoints on that. Kevin and I did at that last commissioners meeting, and I wasn't even on. I mean, I made comments before I was even on the committee. I got voted on the committee after those comments.
Okay. I didn't know when you got on the committee, so
I'd have to say that.
Can we start with a statement? Or Are you looking for input from us?
Yeah, I mean, well, you were there, so,
I was there.
yeah.
Excuse me a second, Paul Blaisdell just texted me, said he'll be here in about 10 minutes.
Okay. So, we can wait for him to show up, or we can keep going.
You're the chair.
Well, I'm looking for input. You want to wait for Paul Blaisdell, or do you want to?
No, I'd rather have him here.
Okay, so you want to wait for Paul to
I
show up?
will.
Okay. So we're going to wait a few minutes for him, 10 minutes for him to
Does
hear.
that work for you guys?
Does that work?
The time is valuable.
I know, everyone's time is valuable, so we are gonna, slide down, we'll start the, I'm just looking at what we can do quickly. In 10 minutes. We can move down to number 7, we can review the minutes, the public minutes of 124, because everyone had a chance to review that.
Yeah.
No, she said, she emailed us.
She emailed it.
Yeah.
Did you read it?
I did. Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we accept the meetings of 01/24/23, public meeting,
All right. And I'll second that.
as printed.
Any discussion?
I wasn't here at that meeting, so.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please say aye. Aye.
I'm gonna abstain.
One abstention. Any opposed? Opposition? Let the record show the motion passed. All right, and then, let's see. I guess we'll start the chief's report. Did everyone have a chance to review the chief's report?
Briefly, yeah.
Happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
When does our audit start for?
It's going to be in March. I don't know the exact date.
March 7th.
March 7th. So things, the items that we're waiting for, Chief, on the 2022, that are some outstanding bills, is that going to be a significant amount?
No.
When is AT&T gonna fire up theirs so they can be billed?
That's entirely up to them. I have not had any contact with them. In fact, I don't deal with AT&T on that. They would deal with the owner of the tower,
Oh, okay.
which would be Wireless Edge.
Okay, Wireless Edge, so, but Wireless Edge has power to it?
We have power to our shelter and stuff like that. AT&T, I looked at it today, there is no meter going to the AT&T equipment.
But there's power to their structure?
There's power to the meter socket places.
Right.
So there's power to that, but the power from the meter socket to
Right.
the AT&T equipment is not there because.
Right, because the meter's not there.
The
But
meter's not
theoretically, power's to the structure, so
Yep,
they should start getting a bill.
they should be able to power up.
Right,
But they
so
are not.
it's not because of our fault at this point. Power is to the building, so we probably should be looking into when they're gonna put a meter on because they should start paying a bill. Power is there now.
Right, so I contacted, I sent an email to John
Okay.
from Wireless Edge today, but he didn't reply yet. So
Okay.
that was late in the afternoon.
All right.
Yeah, they said they were waiting for power. Well, power is to their structure.
And also the E1 is in service.
It is.
Is that the truck we're using to go to the calls now? Number one? Is that number
Yeah, it's running for.
It's very good, yes.
Yeah. And are we gonna, I think at one time we talked about maybe every month switching. Did we, I thought we talked
Well,
about.
we're gonna run engine one for a little while, see if we have any bugs in it, and then we'll get into some type of rotation where we're switching trucks back and forth.
So are the two trucks pretty much set up identical?
Yes,
All the equipment in the back?
yes,
So we have power tools on both trucks?
yes.
Okay. I didn't think we carried power tools on the extrication tools on our engines. I thought you had the one set on the ladder.
We have the one set of hydraulic operated ones, and then we have two battery operated
operated,
conduit
okay.
tools, one on each engine.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw one of the Facebook things of that.
Yeah, they're just, it's just enough to pop a door or
Yeah,
cut an
the
eight
small
You're not doing
The
a
battery
full
ones.
application
Okay.
with one of those.
But your hydraulic unit, the big hydraulic is still on the air tower.
It's on the rescue currently,
Rescue,
but it's
sorry.
going to be moved to the ladder,
Okay.
hopefully in short order.
The Homeland Security grant that you received for $53,000, when does that get spendable?
That's still under the, it's back with the state, and the woman who runs the historical preservation review on the buildings that the equipment is going in has been out for a few weeks, and so until she comes back, we're kind of stalled at that. But when she comes back, I expect that to be finished up, and then it will go to Governor and Council for final approval.
I looked at it earlier. I just saw there was no financial in here yet. Okay. Well, I
Not
didn't.
till budget, not till district meeting, we really have a budget put in there.
Okay.
So other items that aren't on your report that I need to include are the SAFER grant application period is coming up within a month or so, and I would want to know if the commissioners want me to reapply for a SAFER grant to hopefully defray the cost of the 4 firefighters that we currently have on board.
It has a renewal option.
It's not a renewal, it's an entirely new application. As you know, on February 8th of 2024, the current grant expires, and then we have to assume the cost of the employees if we were to keep them, or we have to let them go. The new grant application, that if I were to submit one, is not a guarantee that it would be continued, but if awarded, could be used to fund those positions for an additional 3 years. I have not, the notice for a funding opportunity hasn't really come out yet. I was trying to look for that today, but it has not come out yet, so I don't know all the details of what the requirements and all the nitty-gritty of what they would want in a grant application at this point in time.
In the past grant, it didn't say that it would be a one-time funding.
It did not.
Okay.
Do you know any history of the being?
Yeah, so a lot of big city municipal urban fire departments, in the past, they've used the SAFER grant to avoid layoffs, and have made a argument that refunding those SAFER positions would allow them to keep those employees. Their success rate when they do that is, I would say, about 15% success rate. The idea is when FEMA gives you a grant like that, they expect you to be able to assume the costs of the employees after 3 years.
Which is a concern with it running out before the March meeting of 2024.
There was like a 5-week.
But theoretically then, if
No
no
choice.
funding,
Yeah.
you'd have to lay them off.
Any idea when you know an answer on something like that, Chief? Would it be before February 2024?
That's a great question,
Okay.
because just for example, in the last AFG grant, which is run by FEMA, the same grant people running the programs, the application period was supposed to be last February and was supposed to close in August, they give you a month to apply for it. Then they're gonna let you know in August after like a 4-month review period. They still haven't even reviewed the ones that was submitted last year. So they say they're gonna do one thing, but stuff happens and things get pushed back. The grant that we're running on is a fiscal year 19 SAFER grant, which we didn't get until 21. We got it in 20 and we implemented it in 21. So that's kind of how the federal government FEMA grant programs go. They're lagging behind. And like everybody else, they're hurting for employees. And every time I call down there, I'm speaking with somebody new half the time.
Do you think the benefits and everything would be about the same, or? That's what I mean, they might give you something, say, we'll give you this, but you gotta pay for this, 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 and this.
So the general rules of the grant are the same. They would cover the cost of the firefighters, of what it costs for a first-year firefighter. They cover the benefits, the salaries, all that kind of stuff, like what we're receiving now. I don't know if it's at the 100% level like we have for the last 3 years. I believe it was approved for 100% level, so there's no copay for the 3 years. But I still haven't seen the notice of funding opportunity, so I can't say for sure.
Let me ask a hypothetical question. Because I think, certainly, we certainly see the need one way or the other, whether it's funded by the district or... But if the district agreed to fund those 4 firefighters and we got accepted for the grant, that means we got to hire 4 more? Or
You always have the
can we-
opportunity, you can refuse the grant or you could hire 4 more.
Right, okay. So depending on timing, we can either fund the 4 we got or basically decide from there what you do about 4 more.
That's correct.
Is that allowed, or is that supplanting?
Depends upon how you write the grant.
Because I know in other boards and stuff, if you put the money aside and then you try stepping into that, you've already had the money earmarked.
Right.
So
you would have to be...
catch-22 of that.
You'd have to be very careful with the way you worded your grant application. You clearly have to shoot for one or the other.
Correct. Which was the concern we kind of got into back when we first approached the SAFER grant a couple of years back.
Yep. So it'll come down to timing and how quickly process it, whether you...
Well, in order to go for funding for the SAFER grant, it would have to be a warrant article this year. Because the funds will run out before you get to district meeting the following year.
No, but the budget ends at this year. Like the budget that we're going for right now ends December 31st.
Correct.
The SAFER employees are
Till
have
February.
funding until February 8th.
Correct.
There's going to be that gap between February 8th and district meeting,
Correct.
which we can't set funds aside for.
Correct.
So
if you don't go for the warrant article this year to set up for that term, that transition period, you do not have funding for that transition window.
But I don't think you can
you can't.
You can't earmark for next year on this year's budget.
You could put in for the budget, oh, no, because it goes over, you're correct, it goes over the window.
But
Yes,
the
okay,
wicket is the,
yes,
let's see.
yeah. So there's a chance that there could be layoffs, theoretically, at the end of the SAFER grant.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
Could you fund
You can't
for
fund
1 month?
We can't fund for 1 month.
Because it goes beyond.
That's what you call that.
Supplanting.
So what I think would probably happen is during the budget process, the next budget process for fiscal year '24, the commissioners will decide whether they want to keep them and include them in their budget. Then if they do so, the budget committee will have a say on it. And if they approve that budget, it will go to district meeting. We'll keep the employees and be voted at district meeting, or amended at district meeting, then have to either we'll keep them or lay them off after district meeting. So there may be a cost between the end of the fiscal year, safer grant period, and district budget vote. The district may just have to assume those costs at that point in time, and then decide, the voters of the district will decide, the outcome of that. In regards to that, I know Commissioner Stilley asked me for an accounting of where we were with the Safer Grant, and I sent them, a memo is included in that packet, and you can see, you should have had a chance to read. Was that in the packet that I included in the email?
I don't think so.
So,
No, it was just either chief's report. At the end of this year.
yes, I believe so.
So the money would run out even sooner.
Yes. Which is generally the case when I talk to everybody else who's gotten a safer grant. It's basically the same, because when they fund the safer positions, it doesn't include any raises that are granted to the employees as they accumulate other benefits and things like that. So when you get to the end of the safer grant period, you end up being short that money for the time frame they give you.
See, black and white makes a little.
I think that's what it's doing.
Hmm?
You want to come back to the safer grant? portion?
Yeah, I probably do for that, just for that. So we're gonna jump backwards. Mr. Blaisdell has joined us, and Mr. Blaisdell is the chair of the building committee. Correct. So we didn't get into discussion. The chief informed us that you were about 10 minutes away, so we held off. We went to other items on the agenda.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Coming back to talking about the fire station committee, building committee, sorry. Yeah, that's what I was just drawing a blank, sorry.
No, not at all. I can jump right in on that, or what?
Well, so we're looking for the committee's input. We've heard input from some members of the building committee about what happened after your December 29th meeting, where I believe it was 2 members of the committee and the chief added questions to the RFP that was going out to the construction managers. Just make sure I got the right terminology. That were bidding on the project. Based on that, there was feedback at the January 4th Commissioners meeting. There was a news article in the newspaper, and based on the feedback, the commissioners received legal guidance or advice, whatever you want to say, from our attorney on whether they were the rules were broken, more or less, about the meeting and we were advised that there were no no violation made. So we are looking for your input as members of the committee, and get feedback from you so that you know what's going to happen. So I guess we're looking, but before we started, I believe Lisa said that she wanted to make a statement or.
Yes, I just wanted to start out, there seems to be this misperception, I'll call it, that 3 people met. But I never communicated with Paul, and Paul did not communicate with me, so therefore there was not a 3-person meeting. I missed the December 15th building committee meeting because I was sick. The chief called me the next day and to let me know what happened in the meeting, that the committee had decided that we should be rating the contractors, construction managers, in time for the next meeting. And I said to him, well, I've looked at them, but I can't rate them because they did not provide us some information that's critical to meet our RFQ requirements. And that's how the dialogue started. I spoke with the chief on the phone and told him I thought, well, we're missing this and this and that. And that's how it began. There was never any intent to sidestep the committee or whatever. That's how the list began. And it was mainly just because I was missing from the meeting. We were supposed to, he just told me we're going to rate the things by the next meeting, and I said, well, I don't think anybody can. That's how it started. But I never communicated with Paul, and I'm sure you'll say that you never communicated with me. So there was not a 3-way meeting in any manner.
That's,
I'll let.
if you will, essentially that's true. Between the 2 of us, we came up with a list of questions that I thought were appropriate so that we could help make a decision on the contractor. Paul Blaisdell being the chairman of the committee, I called him and asked him if he thought it might be appropriate if we send these questions out. After a short discussion, he agreed that it wouldn't hurt, it would help us, the committee, to make those decisions. So I put an email together with those questions, sent them out to the building committee and to the contractors, and that's the way it went. And by no means I think I was trying to subvert the building committee. I was only trying to help the building committee in its decision-making process. More information is better information, and if I put anybody on the spot, I apologize to both Lisa and Paul for facilitating that process.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome, everyone. So my take on the issue is that there was never any intent to circumvent the rules or to sidestep or step on people's feet or make decisions that didn't include the entire group. There was never any intent to do that. And if you read the questions themselves, you see that they're all questions in which, during our discussion, we were looking for those answers. It was not as if we were going to submit these questions and then hold the answers close to our vest. It was information that was going to be distributed throughout the entire group. So I personally had no intention of circumventing any rules or any steps. My intention was strictly to keep the process moving, to be able to go to the next meeting with answers to questions that we all had when we reviewed the proposals. So if there are any questions about that, or if there are any questions of the integrity of any of the three people involved, I'd like to have a discussion with about that tonight.
Thank you, Paul.
And excuse me, when we've completed this discussion, I would like to have the floor additionally, if I could.
Let me ask you something, Paul. When these questions were submitted to you and Lisa, they were submitted to you guys. Am I correct?
They were submitted to me. I have no,
They were submitted to you?
Not at the same time. I don't know what transpired between chief.
All I'm saying is that you guys got them submitted to you, right? The chief submitted them to,
So,
No.
no, Lisa and I had a conversation, we developed a list of questions.
and how Paul get them?
I got them by email. The chief emailed me on 12/16. I don't have the exact time, with a design build supplemental question.
What about the rest? Did anybody else get the rest of them?
When the chief sent the questions out to the two bidders, he CC'd everybody on the committee.
So in that, what I'm getting at is, the things were sent out to the bidders without you guys knowing,
Without input from the
Without
rest of
input
the
from-
committee.
the rest of you. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Wait a second.
And the
No,
other
no,
question,
no, no, wait a second, please, because I need to answer that question. So the chief sent me that email with the attachment. The attachment was that list of supplemental questions. And on that same day, I do have the time. On that same day, it was sent to the balance of the committee.
before, was it sent before it was sent to the bidders?
No, the rest of the committee was CC'd on the email when it went out.
So it went out
At
first.
the same time, it was at the same time.
Right, it did not go to.
So and what I'm getting at, in other words, the other people did not have any say.
No input into
No input
additional
whatsoever.
questions or anything like that.
That's all I'm saying.
Right.
They had no input.
That's it.
Correct.
Okay.
At the time that we had discussed the list, the interview hadn't happened yet, and we did discuss, well, anybody can ask additional questions at the interview, because that's when we generally ask questions. These were developed to get the answers to questions we'd already asked in our RFQ. We just didn't get the response from the contractors. If that clarifies it. But I understand where the procedure should have probably gone that everybody got the list of questions before it went to the...
They should have had something to say about it. Correct?
I'm assuming that how things played out, that did not happen. I understand.
Okay, well, that's all I'm getting at.
Yes.
The rest of the committee did not have an opportunity to say, I don't want to send this out, or I didn't, if I'm coming across right. In other words, he did not have a chance to say, I don't think we ought to send this out. It was sent out before.
That's correct, Paul.
Okay.
The majority of the committee was left out.
Well, that's what I mean, before it was sent out.
Right, it went from Lisa to the chief, and the chief to Paul.
He bounced it off Paul,
And then who distributed to the
I
chief? Okay, so.
Could I say something? First off, Paul and Lisa, thank you very much for being on the committee. Paul, I've known you. Lisa, I've heard very good things about you and your knowledge. But these were questions that the committee had already asked to have answers to, but the contractor overlooked it?
No. It was supplemental, I believe, and if I'm there were supplemental questions that probably weren't answered so the committee could understand the response to the initial questions went out. It kind of led to more questions, so supplemental questions that were then sent to them before we got into the real deciding factor of it. So that's what it was. It was additional questions that went back out, like I said, I've been on both sides of this coin throughout this whole process. It's just the rest of the committee didn't have a chance to see the questions, to see if there was additional questions. That's where it's a process thing more than anything. One of the things that we did look on is with our legal counsel is there was not an RSA 91A violation. So that was cleared up by our legal counsel that there was not a violation of that because of the number. It's not.
You hired an attorney to defend you, and that's exactly what he did.
No, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but that is not. We asked for legal counsel to see if we had to do something to correct an RSA 91 violation. In his interpretation, it was not a violation of 91A. He is not taking it towards the way we want. He's giving the counsel to the district of what we need to do to fix if it is a violation. He is saying it is not a violation that needs to be fixed.
And Kevin, remember your words were it was illegal and that these 3 people should be immediately dismissed. Close to what I understood.
Deputy Robinson, it's always been a pleasure for me to volunteer on these boards, and especially with the building committee. It's crucial that we have people who know the process of what it's going to take to get a building built. And Lisa brings that to the table for our group.
Absolutely.
And
That's what I
there is
understood.
no way that we could be progressing at the level and rate that we are without Lisa's input, period, end of story. And I personally am upset that Lisa's name is getting dragged into this, and that I'm reading the newspaper with potentially derogatory comments about Lisa, because that's the exact opposite of what should be in the paper. That's the exact opposite of the perception that our community should have of her. Because there's no way we could be doing this without her. And if I might, I'll be happy to read these questions such that it's in the record, because there is nothing here other than straight questions about the process, the qualifications, the ability of the contractor, any architect to do this work for us. So it's not like we're trying to undercut anybody's authority or circumvent any of the rules. It's simply a fact of we have someone very knowledgeable in this process who's done it before. We asked certain questions in our request for proposal. They were not answered directly. Lisa flagged it and said, can we get these questions answered? And let me just read them. Design build questions for the contractor. How many projects over 10,000 square feet have you completed in the last 5 years? Of these projects, how many were municipal projects? How many of the completed projects use the design build method of construction? And on and on and on. I'm not going to read all of them. That's the nature of these questions. There is no intent to circumvent anybody's authority. All we were trying to do was get more information so at the next meeting we could present it to everybody.
And I, again, thank the 2 of you for being part of this committee. And you volunteered, because I think if I was put in the same situation, I'd be all done your committee. You know, your intentions were good. I don't always know the legal, what goes where, and obviously council says, you know, we didn't break any laws. Again, I think something was blown extremely out of proportion, and thank you for being on the committee, and I hope you decide to stay, because, again, Lisa, I don't know you very well, but I've heard nothing but good things, and exactly what Paul just said. You bring that engineering expertise to it.
Anything from Mr. Silly or further from?
Well, I'm not, there again, I think you guys are doing a great job. Lisa, you are a gentleman to being on the committee, and so is Paul. You guys have been around a long time, you're doing a great job. And all I hope is that it never happens again like this, because like I said, people are gonna, it's not me, it's the public that see that stuff, and all it takes is a couple people.
Where's the public tonight? Where's the public? It's not the public that has a big problem with this. It's not the public. There's no public
Well,
here.
it must be the public, because somebody, it was in the paper, it gets it right on there. You can go right on there and watch, Paul.
I read the article in the paper, Paul. I'm curious who wrote that article
I have
and
no
how that
idea.
information was obtained.
I have no idea.
It was
Well, the information was obtained from because
from
I
the
know,
minutes of the meetings.
correct, because I know the
Absolutely.
person who wrote it, and he's done that with the school board and a few other things where it takes it from the public minutes. But I know that no one from the commissioners board was well, I was not contacted from the commissioners board, even though my name was all throughout the thing. On the wrong side of it, but.
So why was the article written? Because one person, not the public, one person had a check. One person.
Well, and the unfortunate part is again, we're trying to get two communities to come together. And we have one person that almost seems like it doesn't want to happen. Why do I want to get in bed with another community, take all my eggs in one basket, put it down into Northfield, who's already talked about seceding twice, and we're not getting along? I mean, I'm listening to the news in the morning shaving, and there it is. A department that I've been very, very proud of for many,
I don't know
many
if
years.
they're on the news.
And there it is on the news.
I didn't know, I was.
Well, let's get past this and move on.
I'd like to get past it. I mean, I appreciate everyone, having served on different committees, I appreciate everyone because you're donating your time to us. And I appreciate the fact that everyone steps up to that. Just my personal comment is, when I first heard about it, I was like, but my initial reaction was, because I'm not an expert on 91A, was to seek legal counsel, because I didn't want to get us into a situation or further down the road without knowing. We've received legal counsel, and legal counsel has told us or informed us that there was no violation. I think it would be a different conversation if we had been told that there was a violation, but I am not in favor of removing anyone or anything like that, as was suggested. I hope that the wounds that have been created can be healed, and the committee can continue to work as a cohesive unit towards our ultimate goal, which is getting a new fire station for the Tilton Northfield Fire District. That's the goal. I am, I'm speaking for myself, but I think that it's we need to move forward from this. And as I say, I value everyone's input, and I think sometimes we've had that oh poop moment where you're like, oh wait, we forgot to ask this question, and hearing the questions from Mr. Blaisdell gives me a little bit more clarification. Obviously, I don't know all the questions because I'm not, I don't have them in front of me, but
They're written, the past minutes for our meeting and the station committee, so we did read them in the public immediately after.
No, I think I did read them, but I'm not recalling any of them until
I'm just
the,
saying that they are available to the public. They have been in the past minutes for the public.
and, you know, again, I don't see much of the public here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the public here, so, but they're all members, they're all involved here, so that's my piece.
So is that the
Could
board,
I
commissioner's decision then?
No, I'm just making a comment. I guess I'm just looking for other additional, and then we'll have to make a motion and figure out. So, do you have any other comments to make?
I'm not in favor of removing anyone from the board. I will express, I have an extreme concern that any matters with the station be directed to the chair of the station committee going forward, and then through that to the commissioners. I can tell you that when I was a member of the chair, the selectmen approached the chief instead of me as the chair of the board. When we had the meet with the contractors, the chief was there as our representative, but some of the things that were brought up were more included to two stations than the actual scope of the project. So I want any questions going forward from this, if we keep the people the way they are, be directed to the chair of the board for dissemination properly. As I said, I wanted to speak with the selectmen of the Tilton Select Board. When they approached the chief, I told him to have them contact me. I never heard from them. They should not be going to the chief on that matter. They should be going to the chair, the commissioners, or the chair of that committee. So going forward, I want that to be made absolutely clear of lines of communication. And with that, I would be happy to leave everyone the way they are. Otherwise, I personally would love to see the person who is most likely going to be moving into the building and be the chief, likely when we are building the building, in charge as an opportunity for growth, because he has the experience. Chief Seatar has told us about his experience. He has a lot of experience he's bringing. When they were building some of those stations down there, the chief was not involved in it. They had other committee members. He was the point of contact on it. I think this would be a great growth opportunity for our deputy who would be moving into the stations.
Thank you. Paul?
No, I'll agree with John. It should be directed right to the chairman of the committee or the board.
Mind if I make one final statement on this matter? And I'm reading these from the non-public session meetings minutes of January 12th, 2023, of the exact forward that were in front of the commission. Description of matters discussed and final decisions made. This is the minutes of a non-public session. Discussion ensued with Attorney Fitzgerald concerning the fire station building committee regarding the questions that were discussed by Paul Blaisdell, Lisa Martin, and Chief Seatar, and emailed to the two bidders. Attorney Fitzgerald advised this is not to be considered a quorum. Kevin Waldron is way out of line with his allegations and requesting the three involved be removed from the committee. That's our legal counsel.
I'm going to make a motion that we do not remove any members of the fire station building committee. That's it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you for your hard work on the committee, and we will continue. And now, I have a note here, Paul, after discussion, give Paul the floor.
I want to make sure Lisa's here.
We'll go back to the lawyer.
I'm perfectly willing to wait till later if it's better for you guys.
No,
Okay,
public's here, and that's important, to get there done.
what I'd like to do is just kind of review the process that the building committee had when we first did the request for proposal, and we decided to make an addendum to that proposal. And we had a meeting in which there were, not every member of the committee was there for that meeting. And we discussed the addendum, and I'm specifically talking about the 11/28 meeting. And again, I'm reading from the minutes. Commissioner Silly made a motion to accept addendum 1 to the design build services with the answers discussed pending final review and acknowledgement by email of all committee members. So what Commissioner Silly asked was that we put together this addendum, we distribute it to everybody, and people vote by email, yea or nay, as to whether we include it in a request for proposal. Kevin seconded the motion. Being no discussion, vote was taken, motion passed. Those are the official minutes. Now I'm going to throw in something that I recall a conversation when that occurred. There was direct conversation within the committee that when you reply by email on any vote, you reply to the sender. You don't reply all. Okay? On November 29th, Chief Setar sent out an email to the entire committee and Kathy Tolmine. Attached is addendum 1, which was voted on at last night's meeting. Please reply to me individually, not reply all, as to your approval or not of the document as presented. Please respond before 4 p.m. Thursday, 12/1/22. Thank you, Chief Setar. That very same day, I get an email, as did the Fire Station Building Committee and Kathy Tolmine, from Mr. Kevin Waldron. Yes, I approve. Why did he send his vote to the entire committee? Was he trying to influence members of the committee to vote in the same way that he did? Why did he not reply just to the sender? Why did he reply all? Is that egregious? Does that mean that he should be removed from the committee? No, he made a mistake. I picked up on that the day that it happened. I said, why did he reply all? Did I throw my hands up? Did I make a big stink? Did I call the Laconia Sun to have an article written? No, the gentleman made a mistake, and that was it. Why are we even having this conversation? It's totally beyond me. Thank you for hearing me.
I think one of the biggest things is finding a happy medium, the station committee build those bridges of working as a team. I think that's going to be one of the first things that has to be as a priority next time, is trying to find that happy place where we can all cooperate together and move to the forward rather than dwell on the past.
I'm hoping that we can focus on the future.
We need to, because that's where the goal is. And so it'll be an interesting meeting Thursday night.
Yeah, my first one,
Just,
guaranteed.
oh, sorry, I'll hold off my thoughts.
For the record, I did not call any news media, and I was not contacted by any news media. It was brought to my attention by a member of the public. week.
Thank you.
My TV's been in the basement for 4 years.
Thank you. All right. Make sure that's in the record. Thank you. Just, as chair of the committee, I'll just make a recommendation, just because of past experiences on other committees that I've had. Whenever you send out an email looking for a response, use BCC. This way, it only goes to each individual person, and they can't reply all, they can only reply to you. So, just a technique to use when you're sending out emails like that to a group, send them as BCC. And this way, it doesn't get you can't do a reply all, because no one else knows who else is getting it. So, just my suggestion, my 2 cents worth. But hopefully, hopefully. All right, what do we got next?
Next thing is station committee, which hasn't met because of all of this.
Your next meeting is on Thursday.
Thursday.
What time?
5:30.
5:30.
Tilton downstairs. Tilton Town Hall?
Yeah.
We do have the town hall, okay.
Yes, Tilton Town Hall, that's on the website.
Correct.
So that's. And then. At 5:30.
Yes.
I was at Tilton Town Hall before I came
So you got anything else for the station committee or?
Just my continued thanks, and,
I agree, feed everything somewhere else.
You know what?
you know, hang out.
Is there anything else from the fire station committee as well?
No, sir.
So, man, you have a nice night?
See you Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see you Thursday.
All right. So we did number 5. We're on math 6. Does anyone else have anything else on the, I guess the budget's missing now, so that,
Yeah, budget missing.
if I heard you correctly, we don't do that until after.
We don't supply a cost, because there's nothing, it's just it's expenses, there's nothing to compare it to the budget
Yeah.
until after district meeting. That's been our practice as long as I've been.
But for March, could we have what was expended in as of January 1st? Because that is a tracking to kind of know where we're at with things.
Percentage-wise, good. I do need to know the number.
And I personally, if as a commissioner, would like to see the numbers that we're spending leading up into. I mean, what the
I'll see if
expenses
I can
are.
dig that up sometime.
The report will have everything except the budgeted amounts because it hasn't been.
Right. So that would be a
Just shows
missing column, that's the budget amount, but it would show expenses
Yes, it will.
January 1st.
Yes.
Yep, that's kind of what I'd like to look at.
All right. Do we have anything else on the chief's report?
No, I looked through it earlier. It was, seemed like there wasn't a lot of inspections. Number
Well,
12.
2022.
No,
No, just the bottom of his
Oh,
second
okay.
page was, I was like, wow, we were 2200.
Yes, you left off on Center Street.
I what?
You left off on Center Street.
Oh, Center Street, okay. What was the A and B? Oh, that was for.
The camera system.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
maybe that'd be safer as
I
well.
did see the delay in that when I was up there the other day, because I saw myself on TV, and I was standing in the
Well, I'm glad you got to see it.
community room, for lack of a better word, I don't know what it's called. Where they have power. Or there was something else in here that I wanted to see. So, Chief, the cistern at Vista Heights,
Yeah.
so what was his, because that was a cistern.
Yes, and so he agreed to it all the way up until we're putting stakes in the ground. He hadn't signed the lease agreement yet,
Yeah.
and we're putting stakes in the ground so we can go up there and start doing the excavation, and he comes running out and says, I don't want it anymore.
But it would have been underground though, was
It's
it?
underground.
Except for the, obviously where you.
Yeah, except for the fill, the vent.
Yeah.
And so I approached the neighbor across the street, and I'll be making contact with him, touching base again. So I gave him a copy of what the easement agreement looks like, and he's discussing it with his wife to see if
Great location to have one.
across the street. That Bill's, I'll go to the one across the street from that, and we'll just keep working on it until we get one.
Okay. Because, have you already bought the cistern?
It's we have a PO for it.
So we already have a PO for it, so you already in, it's just the installation and the agreements.
Right.
So if we get someone else to agree to one, it's ready to go.
It's very
You already have a PO for the cistern, yeah. Okay. So, safer grant, what's the thoughts on that? We can't put a warrant article in place for it this year. We have funding through the end of December 31st of 2023.
But we're gonna need to know sooner than later if we're gonna, when it's anticipated that's gonna run out by 12/31.
It's too early to tell exactly where we're going to fall, depending upon what happens, occurs during the course of the year. Like I wrote in the memo, I expect that it will either be fully expended by the end of the year or nearly fully expended by the end of the year.
Now, if I could revisit something. If he applies for the SAFER grant, if we only funded or asked for funding for the 1 month this year, wouldn't that give him time to explore the SAFER grant, get approval for the SAFER grant, and then not approve the funding through district?
No, you can't do that.
You can't do it that way. It's, what do you call it again?
Supplementing,
It's a planting.
Okay,
and maybe educate on that in other committees.
okay.
Yeah, you can't.
If you have money earmarked for it and then you try using a grant instead of, they don't like that.
Right, well, that was my point, is not earmarking the money. Earmark it only for the 1 month. And then hopefully by March, you might have some insight on where the grant would be.
But you
You
can't.
can't, because we don't even vote on it until March. And so you can't, so the
He's saying
commissioners, the
adjust
budget
the budget.
committee, you can only propose a budget. It doesn't get voted on until March. So whether they propose 1 month or all 12 months, it really doesn't matter because we don't vote on it until March.
I think what the deputy was saying is he was suggesting adding in a 1 month amount into this year's budget that
Correct.
goes
That's
forward,
what I was driving at.
Yeah,
which is another,
You can't,
you
we
can't,
can't, we
you
can't put
can't do
funds
that.
for 2024 and 2023.
he's not, he's saying if the funds ran out November 30th of 2023, having money in the budget already for that December of 2023. But once again, you don't know if the budget's gonna run out, so it's kinda hard to set money aside and then,
In respect of this year, the budget committee has recommended the full amount to fund those positions through this calendar year, whether there's SAFER grant money to reimburse us or not. So,
you kinda catch 22
Yep,
through
no,
this year.
I understand.
It's looking
I understand.
next year, I mean, if you are able to acquire another SAFER grant, then that covers that gap period. If that was to be approved and all that, then that would cover that gap period where you wouldn't have that in between January 1st and annual meeting. Or truly February
Right.
to annual meeting, or runs out prior to.
I mean, because ultimately what's running through my head is having the SAFER grant utilized to continue the funding of the 4 that we have.
That would be perfect for the district.
Exactly. And that's why I was, bouncing this around of, all right, if we don't approve them until 2024, could the funds be used for that? But if you approve for 2024, now you're asking for 4 more.
Now we're crossed, and we gotta be careful not crossing the
Exactly,
lines, right?
exactly.
And that's where that whole 2023 end of year to
Yep.
2024, and that where we use budget before it's even voted on, and that's that. We're operating from general fund or whatever, the funds you set aside.
Unassigned fund balance.
Unassigned fund balance, you're operating from that in that interim, that the public could say no to all that, and now you've expended money that you didn't have for that.
Correct.
Which has to come out of Hyde someplace else, and should you have even used it without having the public guarantee that they were gonna go for it,
But every community does it, and it's.
until you get caught, or something goes wrong.
Right.
That one time that they cut the budget, that amount, and things like that, just right, I mean, it's a bottom line budget, but if they flatline things and
Right.
make it very clear in their amendments,
So
We
the,
have to follow the wish of the people.
one of the things that, I look at this and possibly for an extension or a new grant to continue to cover these folks, one of the things I can look at is that when I applied for the original grant, we did like 1,900 runs a year. Last year, we did over 2,300, almost 2,300 runs. So we've gone up almost 400 runs since this grant has taken place, and these folks have been on. And I can't imagine what we would have been like without those 4 guys. It would have been impossible to operate in the manner that we have operated. And it's just, the calls are just so much more numerous, and the simultaneous calls when we started were in the like 20% range on average per month. We're regularly at a 50% range, and some months higher than 50% range on simultaneous calls. It would be, a huge drop in the level of service that we're providing if we lose these folks. And so that's be some of the stuff that I could explain in a grant to try and keep these folks on.
and ultimately comes down to the will of the public, the voting public there.
Yep.
What was our call run in January? It was like 183 or something,
181.
which is
Yeah, there is.
2,400 per year. A little less. You need 63% of calls.
So, do you want me to apply for it or not?
I guess I would have to know what it involves. I mean, you apply for it and they got rules and regulations. If it was the same, if they're gonna pay the insurance, pay all the other things,
Yes, all that will still be included. The essentials of the grant have not changed. Sometimes they change little particular requirements of the grant, but the essentials, they will provide salaries and benefits for 3 years. I don't know if it's 100% for 3 years like the last one. I don't know if it's a 90, 70, 50. I don't know how because the documentation for the grant has not come out yet.
so we could apply for it, and if we found out they require this, 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 and this, we could turn it down.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can turn it down right up until the point of say you've been awarded and all that, and it's like, okay, we're gonna turn it down at this point.
You have to accept it by XD.
You're right.
Yeah, when they award the grant to you, if you're awarded a grant, you have a date by which you must accept it.
Accept it.
And if you don't accept it,
Then you
it's
talk to
it's
the rules.
called.
And you have to have public hearings on it and all that. Like we did.
No, you don't have to
Oh,
have
you
public
don't?
hearings, no.
We had them on the last one.
I would say
Yes,
preempt
that was preemptive.
education, public information.
It would be the commissioner's vote to either accept it or not accept it. At the end of this program, I have a bunch of other slides that deal specifically with the grant to help you make a decision.
see a problem with not putting in for it.
Yeah.
I think the likelihood is very, very low because the intent of the Safer Grant is to get the departments to their staffing and for them to take over and maintain it, but if they do, they do. Nothing wrong. If you're looking for a motion, I'll make a motion to have the chief apply for a Safer Grant.
Motion, second.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
There you go.
Okay, who made the second? I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
You've gotten all the way up through 7.
The only other thing that I included in my report, the handout, was the mileage for all the vehicles for the year.
I appreciate this.
So E3 does not exist anymore.
It does not.
Correct.
Well, it still exists, but we don't own it.
E3 is the one that won.
Yes.
Okay.
But we're E1 and E2.
Okay. Yep. No, I think this is a good thing to have with that part of it every month as well, just the mileage maintaining and the fuel, because that's going to be an ongoing thing, I think, for the next few years. Just go.
So,
Yes.
just a clarification question. So take ladder 1, L1.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2022, it says, is that how many miles were put on it in 2022, or is that what the total?
That's what
mileage?
the odometer reading is. So in the calendar year 2022, we put about 1,000 miles on the ladder.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So that's a closeout each year.
Yes.
Okay, that's a closeout.
That's the odometer reading and the hour meter reading at the
Perfect.
end of the year.
Okay, yeah, so this one doesn't necessarily have to be monthly.
No, but I just wanted to make sure that I was reading it right.
This is good information.
First, did we put 13,000 or did it have 13,000?
And you were tracking fuel, or what were we added, water usage was the big thing we added to the chief's report.
Yes, so we did not use a fire hydrant
Right.
in January.
So we put that in there as a ongoing,
Correct.
and then you just monitor the fuel consumption. Yeah. That's good to me.
Did we have any major water issues over the weekend?
Water breaks.
Yeah. I know it's not on this
I
report.
feel like there was one or two,
There was
very few, I was surprised.
So Northfield set up, we're going to set up
A warming
times
center.
as a warming center. I saw that.
Pines was set up, this room was set up as a warming center. They had the ability to open, once school was let out on Friday, me, Dave Gilman, and Mike Hutchinson worked together to make sure, Mike and Mike, just kind of a bystander, but to make sure the high school was available, and the high school was available on Friday afternoon all the way into Saturday night. And then we also had accommodations for any homeless population. There was a warming shelter that was available in Ashland, and Tilton PD was going to work on transportation for in-town stuff. The fire department, or both the fire departments and police departments, were going to work on transportation, but out of town was going to be the police department getting the homeless population to Ashland. But we did not, to my knowledge, do any of it for anyone, but we had it available.
Nice.
No, I just was curious about how that for that. I'll report it to you, because I don't know who to call.
Okay.
So on High Street in Tilton, between Spruce and the bridge, there's a little hill, there's a pine branch that's come down that the joint is like over the skinny wires up there. It's not touching the ground, it's not smoking, but
Oh, yeah,
I don't know if that's, you guys call Eversource for that?
Yeah, I can put a trouble call into Eversource. So it's High Street, Between Spruce and the bridge.
Yeah, on the downhill part. It's just I just noticed it today when I was coming down here.
Is it a power wire, do you know, or is it a?
Yeah, it's power, it's the top.
Okay.
It's not a primary though, it's a secondary.
Well, they're real skinny ones. There's two that go, and it's on one of them. But it's not touching the ground, it's not touching anything else, and it's not smoking, but
Can you reach up and grab it?
I wouldn't want to do that right now.
Commissioner have to go right now, it's easy, that way, they need something to do anyway.
Well, I don't know who touched it or. I mean, if you were looking up there, you probably wouldn't notice it. I just happened to be looking.
They'll be up there for 2 minutes, they'll call the poll number in, Eversource will come, probably take care of it tomorrow. It's, that's the easiest way to do it.
That's not still, that's still power. It's like 3 doors down from my house. But I could see someone going up a little hill and trying to knock it off. Why, but no, thank you for that. I like this now. All right. Moving on, I see there's a slideshow behind us, but I don't see the
For public
slideshow.
hearing?
Oh, it's for the public hearing on February 15th.
No.
No,
Okay, well, then-
that's just the date of the public hearing. That's
Okay,
just the
that
date.
was, you
This is-
just so we
this
could
is so
review
you
how
can
it
review
actually looked on the
Yes.
screen.
Yes. So you might want to sit in the audience rather than,
All right, let's just do that. 'Cause I
Stay
don't
in
see
the
a
back.
spot where it is in here, but let's.
No, it's just to review it to make sure that it was visible
We pop
on
on.
the screen and all that.
Oh, Jesus. I'm going out here.
all right, so. Of course, at the beginning, we're going to have a slideshow of a bunch of pictures that happened in the course of the year.
Yep.
We're still putting that together. This is fund balances, the things highlighted in yellow, we still
Better be adjusted.
got to be adjusted. Everything else is accurate there. This is the unassigned fund balance, and we get this after the auditors have done that. If we don't have a report from the auditors, I'm going to delete this slide because it wouldn't be any, there's no accurate information put up there if we don't have the report from the auditors.
If we don't have the report from the auditors, though, we are gonna have an approximate of what it was, because that will be a question that will come up.
Yeah, we'll have an approximate of what the unassigned fund balance is, but how it breaks down and everything like that, it would be a little more difficult to be accurate at.
Yeah.
I still don't have a good picture of engine one. We're going to work on that tomorrow. I have a bunch of pictures and none of them were good enough, so it's still engine two, even though it will be engine one. That's A2, the new A2. That's new car 3. It's the number of incidents we responded to last year. Mutual aid received, mutual aid given. The type of incidents and the breakdown and count of them.
It's a little bit better, the contrast in between each one.
Yep. Incident locations. And here's a map of kind of where everything is. That's from last year, I just stole it.
How many districts haven't changed?
No, I haven't. Incidents by town.
Can you go back one?
Yep.
You might want to just flip-flop those, just because Northfield's
The
up.
color.
No, well, the location, where you got Northfield on that side,
Yeah.
because you kind of have your larger side tilting over here.
I'll try and do that. That's put up by the,
Okay.
it's kind of like a
Default
template, default template, how it comes out. I'll see if I can play with that.
Just that way it's kind of on the same side.
I understand. No.
Has it gone down a little bit on, well, depending on which town you look at? I don't remember Northfield being that high in the past.
No,
Or the-
no, that's right.
No, it's about.
No, I didn't know, like, from the year before, was that up, is that up? I always remember it being like around 35.
It's usually right around there. Incidents by day. So you see, we don't really have a busy day or a slow day. They're pretty much all the same.
Yeah.
incidents by hour and then the simultaneous incidents by hour.
So for clarification, average arrival on scene, 6 minutes, when does that clock start?
From the time we leave the fire station.
Okay, so from the time the apparatus starts rolling.
Yep.
So not the pre-alert,
No,
the bump time,
it
all
doesn't,
that
that
stuff.
doesn't
That's when-
include turnout time
Okay,
or dispatch time.
that's when the ambulance, or the vehicle leaves the bay.
Yes.
Okay.
By age.
Like, you go back to that one, sorry.
Color you, Paul? I'm aqua.
I'm in the,
You wish.
I'm just wondering with this one, if you could try experimenting with the font of the colors inside. You might be better off with a white inside of a dark color like that.
I'll give it a shot.
Just an experiment thing, you can see if that makes it a little bit clearer from when you're further away. The black.
Oh, I did do that. What happened is then the 1% or less turned white and you can't see it.
Yes, okay. then
That's
you
why
have
I kept it.
Okay, just trying. But yeah, that is a valid point.
This basically shows what the SAFER grant is and what it would cost on the tax rate in each town if it weren't funded by the grant. These are the incidents from 2020 to 2022, just showing the increase. Second call response times. Ambulance transports. Mutual aid use by ambulances. So you see where we're giving more ambulance mutual aid, but we've reduced the number of mutual aid ambulances that we're using. It's almost equal. It's kind of where it's supposed to be, really. Ambulance revenue. So fancy slide showing trends. That's it.
Yeah, it looks like it projects well. I mean, other than, like we said, it would have been nicer if it was a white, but I understand why. Just like you said, because that 1% where it doesn't fit into a pie will be your inverse. You can't win.
Yeah, I know. That's,
Right. And then just make sure that we try it at the school at some point in advance, just because that projector is way
it
distant.
actually looks better
Oh,
when we use that
excellent.
one. It's the light is brighter or something. And these lights, if we dimmed them down, it would probably will reflect the
Okay.
same as it would in the cafeteria.
I'm not shutting off any lights because they had a hard enough time getting that thing to work.
Not now.
For the short lights off.
Good. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief. All right, let's see. Stepped out. We got review, any other business to come before the board?
I'll send out the revenue numbers tomorrow, the expense numbers tomorrow. To an email to you guys, okay?
The nomination is closed out. People can just submit their names
For the,
candidacy.
the,
Is that closed? That closed?
Yes, that's closed. So, do you want you guys know is going for running for what and then.
I don't know.
I can tell you for Paul Ogier signed up to run for re-election, and Kevin Kate is running against him. And for the 2-year term, we have 2 candidates who are both sitting in the audience here, Tim Sattler and Kevin Baldwin.
Yeah, because someone had to leave early, mess it all up.
I was actually asked, I thought I knew the answer, but then it made me, why is it a 2-year term, not a 1-year term?
For the second commissioner?
Yeah, and my explanation was, well, they're fulfilling the year 1,
The balance of money.
and the balance of the term is 2 years.
Right,
That's correct.
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's just
So-
like the clerk is 1 year because that's the balance of the term.
Yeah, so they may have had confusion because with the school board where I stepped down, I had a 1 year remaining on that. So they may have been wondering why it's 1 year there and 2 years here. That might have caused some confusion.
And we did not get anybody to run for clerk as well.
I tried.
No thanks.
Do you have manifest for us today?
No, but we do have to have it on somewhere.
So we checked the wires.
Great.
It's 100, that's exactly what. Why did I make that noise?
Let's wake them up.
That's a terrible one.
That's some tone language here on
So we have a public hearing on the 15th.
Correct.
It's all your fault.
My wife would kill me if I left it on that noise.
And it starts at 6 p.m.
That's-
and it's here,
And it's here.
yes.
So we have, this is on the budget, correct?
The
Or-
budget
budget and
is
the warrant
first and then
articles.
followed immediately by the warrant.
Okay, so we have there's a public hearing on the budget, for the 2023 budget, on Wednesday, February 15th at 6 p.m. here at the Tilton Police Department. And then immediately following the conclusion of that part, we will have the warrant article review at public hearing. Immediately following that, also right here at the Tilton PD. One, come on. Then our next meeting. Now, we don't have a second hearing for that. That's only if we have an issue that we have to change something significantly. Okay. And then our
In March, your meeting, you had changed it from the
yeah,
7th to the 8th,
yeah.
but
My situation has changed, so if we need to have it back on the 7th, we can.
Do it.
You know, either one.
Yeah.
Good. Let's keep it on Wednesday for now.
okay.
Okay.
Only because it's less changes I have to make in my calendar. And that's at 5:30.
5:30.
And that's at Tilton
Tilton
Town
Town
Hall.
Hall.
All right, I gotta look back and forth. All right. Let's see, next, public comments. Mr. Waldron.
We have all 3 chief officers here. Wondering if they might be willing to share whether or not they support a single station headquarters in Northfield.
Ask them. Did you guys hear the question?
Are you comfortable answering that?
I guess I didn't hear the question.
He wants to, I'll just repeat.
Go ahead.
He wants to know if since there's all 3, the chief and the 2 deputies are here, we wanted to find out, since they're all here, if they support a single station or two stations, correct?
Single station headquarters in North Ridge Street.
Single station headquarters in the town of Northfield, yeah. Is anyone comfortable?
I'll go first, if you want.
I'm just curious, I just,
No,
if you want to share, fine, if not, I get it.
I've shared this opinion many times before. I think having a single fire station in the town of Northfield would reduce services to 2/3 of our call volumes. Well, could have seen on the thing, and I think that would be a mistake for the fire district. So I do not support a single fire station in Northfield for that purpose.
But that slide you showed is why I asked the question.
We would increase our response times to 2/3 of our calls by about 2 minutes. I think that's when you're looking to locate a fire station. I think one of the most important things that you have to look at is response times. And you try to reduce, at least maintain or reduce response times. You don't want to make, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of most experts are, you don't want to increase the response times. So that's why I hold that opinion.
I'll go next. Honestly, I have mixed emotions on it. Operationally, it certainly would be nice to have it all under one roof. But as a taxpayer, I'm very nervous. Number one, with the fact that on 2 occasions, Northfield has talked about seceding. And if we ever get to the point where we got to split the assets, well, if they're on wheels, we can split them. If they're not on wheels, Northfield gets the station. So there's a holdback on mine. Again, I agree with the chief. 68 to 70% of the calls are in the town of Tilton. 68 to 70% of the cost is spent by the town of Tilton, and all the services to the town of Tilton just got 2 minutes longer. Been on several committees in the past where we charted population circles, and the majority of the calls are in the downtown area, but migrate a little bit further this way. And so, like I say, I'm torn, but I'm also to the point where I've seen this tribe 9 or 10 times, and we're still stuck in a station built back in the 1800s. I'm embarrassed that Samberton is talking about building another station. I remember when that one was built, and it was, so I mean, it's getting to the point that we gotta do something. We gotta do something. So, I'm off.
My opinion about fire stations is, I believe we need a single station in the center of the village. However, that's basically virtually impossible, because it would be where Center Street is now. I don't like 2 stations operationally. I want to work with my call department. I don't get to work with my call department. They respond to Park Street, I respond to Center Street. I have to make an actual effort to go down and see them. I don't think we're a big enough department for 2 stations, personally, but I don't want to be away from my calls either. I think where the Tilton School property was years ago was a perfect spot. I think we lost a perfect opportunity to have a single station at a beautiful location where our call members could respond. So I have opinions and thoughts and stuff. I would love to have one single station. I don't want 2 boilers. I don't want 2 water heaters. I don't want 2 bay doors. I don't want 2 apparatus bays. I just don't think we're a big enough fire department to have that at this point. But that being said, we need to be where our calls are. And I think right where we are, where Tilton School is, that's where our calls are. Beyond that, I mean, I always said Union Sanborn School would be a perfect location. Rip down the old part, keep the new part, make that, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think we're going to pay $4 million or whatever the cost was advertised. a couple of years ago,
Thought
but,
the old post office, you know.
yeah.
Could you do something with that? I mean, but I get it, land is hard to come by, and what do you do? So it's a give and a take to the whole thing.
Yeah. I think if you choose Park Street or Sanborn Road, you have to have two, because you can't, neither one I don't think is center enough.
Park Street's always worked out very well for the call companies. For whatever reason, the core of the people have always lived in that area. It was always good that the call personnel living in that area didn't have to fight the woes of Main Street, you know, to get to the Park Street station. So far as a call station, it served us and has worked very well, and that location would continue to work well, as a call location. Again, history. I remember a time it was 45 members, and I was the only one from the town of Tilton. And historically, it just seems that's where most of our call firefighters came from.
Is that still true today, that most of them are from Northfield?
I wouldn't say.
Who's from Tilton? You? Jamie? No, Jamie lives in Northfield. Probably the majority.
Still a majority.
Matt lives in Northfield. Tommy lives in Northfield.
Yeah.
Who is that again?
Emily is in Tilton.
She's in Tilton.
So, I mean, it's-
cross members and new members going to be in Tilton.
Yeah.
Actually, Sanborn Road would be perfect.
Chief, you approved him, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
waiting.
Yep.
We're just waiting for the physical.
He's on me. We're working.
So, I mean, it's still a good, Park Street is an excellent location for the call department.
I wish we could just take the whole parking lot what we have now or something, I don't know. But that's, we just can't, because we can't make more land.
There's a river fence and we-
Yeah, I know, yeah. There's no, I just wish we were at one spot. I just, buy everything at one spot. It's just, I don't think it's possible right at this point, I don't know.
Thank you,
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Yeah, the Tilton School was, sad, but at the time, I think the cost was $4.8 or $4.9 million, and
Didn't have to put a road in for that.
that was part of the cost. yeah.
It wasn't,
It was going to be a way that
About 100
eventually Tilton
yards.
School would be absorbing.
Yeah.
what, the Union Sanborn? Yeah.
No,
Oh, it's
Tilton School, yeah, and eventually they were going to absorb that driveway into their
Yeah.
lower fields.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Mhm.
All right. Any other public comment? That's a good question. Do we have to do non-public? Yes. Well, I need a cheat sheet.
I'm fine, restroom
Go on, you don't walk over the outlets.
too. I already walked to the outlets.
Is that the last item on your agenda?
That is. Nothing else.
So what will happen is we'll go into non-public, and then if there's any actions taken, and that when we come, we'll have to come back out of non-public just to state what it was in public, and then we're done.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
See you Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Members' present is Paul Loser, John Silly, and Eric Carter. I guess I'll make a motion to enter non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, C. Matters which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. Have a second.
Sure. Yes.
John, seconded. Let's see, roll call vote, Paul Ozier,
Yes.
John Silly,
Yes.
Eric Pyle, yes.
Got the
The recorder,
Yeah, what?
we are in non-public at 7:18.
Do you want me to recorder? Recorder is going.
All right, and is that good?
You have to
So
say
we
which
are
one.
back in public session at 7:28 PM. And in non, oh, we seal it first?
No.
No.
So, in non-public session, we reviewed the disposition reports, and we also approved
We
reviewed the non-public session minutes 1, 2, and 3 of January 24th, 2023.
Now I'll make a motion to accept the non-public minutes of January 24th as written.
Second.
Motion by John, seconded by Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We'll need to seal these minutes, do we? And we don't do that, blah, 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 so,
Signed by you at the bottom.
yep. So, this for Eric.
Oh, I write initials, so you're doing better than I am.
You're GC, so that's the whole other thing. All right. Any other business to come before this board today?
Yes.
Oh,
It won't take long.
Mm-hmm.
Chief?
Um,
You.
I'll be on sick leave for a month or so. I'm having my hip replaced,
Okay.
the 21st of this month. So hope, the
Do you
doc,
think you're gonna be up and moving for the annual meeting?
that should be my first day back. So we'll see.
Okay.
I'm planning on it. I mean,
It should only take you about 2 weeks.
That's-
Be running again.
that's what I'm hoping.
I mean, I know that I had my surgery, I was drugged up and I was back here at meetings and stuff like that, but I don't advise it for everyone.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't the best choice for myself.
But I come out of the operating room and I was walking up and down the halls.
how's that changed the command at the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll act in his stead. Obviously, I'll keep him in the loop on all decisions.
Right, but it's gonna be someone,
That, actually, truly, Mike has rank over me. I'll run the day-to-day of the fire station.
Between two of us, we'll get it done.
Yeah, I'm sure.
okay? I feel like we're gonna do a lot.
I feel I'll be working from home a lot because I have the computer and I'll be able to do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Specifically, probably writing a grant.
That trigger.
There you go. Just not when you're on your medications.
Yeah, don't make any decisions under influence of anything.
I don't really take medications. Ibuprofen is about it. Unless you count Bud Light.
All right, well.
Hey, Paul,
Huh?
you can make your motion now.
Because she knows I won't make it.
You'll second it.
No, I don't have to second it. There's still two people.
I know.
Make a motion on what?
To adjourn.
Huh?
To adjourn?
Oh, I'll make a motion to adjourn. I thought it was waiting for something.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:31.
I thought we missed something.